All right. Okay, let's reconvene the meeting at 1:07 p.m. And we will move on to item 7.1, letter of support for Town of Mandare ACP grant application. And I will turn this over to Peter.
Nothing a whole bunch to add other than we have requested support from other towns and villages and provided support to other towns and villages for various Alberta Community Partnership grants. And this is one being initiated by the Town of Mandare. They're asking us for our this is really moral support. The expectation is that this will be fully funded by ACP with no contribution required from Lamont County. Alberta Community Partnerships. Go ahead, Shane.
Thank you, Your Worship Council. So as Mr. Tarnowski indicated, Town of Mandare is currently conducting a fire station needs assessment as well as conducting a feasibility study, or they're looking to do that. To help offset those costs, the town is applying for an ACP grant in the amount of $40,000. Lamont County received a written request from Town of Mandare Council to provide a letter of support for that grant application as a regional partner. I would just add the Regional Fire Services Agreement has outlined a number of key requirements of fire stations within the county, and the Town of Mandare is taking it upon themselves to help identify and eventually address those gaps as it relates to the Mandare Fire Station. ACP grants are heavily weighted on regional partnerships, so this is a really key part to them being successful in this grant. And the Regional Fire Service Agreement puts Lamont County in a position to offer that support. There is no financial impact to Lamont County. This is strictly a letter supporting the application as a regional partner, nor does it commit us to any funding in the future either. There is the attached to this RFD, there's the original request letter from Town of Mandare Council, Mayor Kalanu, and a proposed letter of support drafted already pending Council's approval.
Comments? Yes. Someone prepared to make a motion to support the request? Dan? You could be looking at page 3, pop up page 3. Yeah, I can do that, Dan, if you want.
That Lamont County Council authorized a letter in support of the Town of Mandare, Alberta Community Partnership, the ACP grant application.
Questions or concerns? Debate? Seeing none, those in favor? Neil?
Yeah, in favor, yeah.
Okay, 5-0. It's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Okay, I think on this next one, I think we have to go into committee of the whole to discuss the
That is our recommendation, yeah.
private dust abatement bylaw. And I saw earlier that Jim had it typed on the board.
Yeah, it's the top one.
Yeah. So if I can have someone move that we resolve the council meeting and go into committee of the whole. Right.
I move that Lamont County Council resolve the December 13th, 2022 regular meeting to a committee of the whole meeting at 1:11 p.m.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
It's carried 5-0. And we'll turn it over to Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. As has become our practice, we resolve into committee of the whole when we're looking to get feedback from council and provide for a much freer and open communication on emergent issues. Earlier in the year, council asked us to bring forward a bylaw to address private dust abatement. And Mr. Dietz is here today with some focused questions that he would like to get council's feedback on prior to taking a run at drafting this bylaw. Go ahead, Darby.
So as council's aware, administration was directed to proceed with drafting a bylaw that would allow the application of dust abatement on county-controlled roads by landowners. We reviewed the county's current road use bylaw, and the existing bylaw does not allow for the application of dust abatement on county roads by a third party. And currently, we're working on incorporating the existing road use bylaw into a proposed transportation bylaw that will address all situations that may arise in regards to the use and maintenance of the county's road right-of-ways. We understand that council wishes to allow third parties to be able to apply dust abatement products on county-controlled roads at their expense, as well as our understanding the council does not wish to allow the application of calcium chloride within Electoral Division 5. We are proposing that the transportation bylaw will allow an applicant to apply dust abatement on county roads under the following scenario. The applicant will submit a completed application that identifies the road or roads to which they intend to apply the product, which type of product they intend to apply, and when they intend to apply it. The applicant will have to pay in advance for a pre and post inspection as well as a refundable deposit. Public Works will conduct an inspection of the road prior to the application of the product, and we will also conduct an inspection upon completion of the product. If any deficiencies are found, the applicant will either have to make the necessary repairs or Public Works will make the necessary repairs utilizing the funds from the refundable deposit. Any unspent funds from the deposit will be returned to the applicant. Depending on the type of dust abatement product used, the applicant will be responsible for maintenance of the dust abatement for a set time frame. Examples, potentially 6 months for calcium chloride, up to 5 years for an oil product. After the 5 years, as the condition of the oil dust abatement deteriorates, the resident may need to make application to reapply the dust abatement. Where this does not occur, the county may turn the road back to a gravelled surface.
So Mr. Reeve, council might want to go question by question through those and provide any commentary, indications of support, or whether or not whether there's another direction we should be taking on these.
I guess my concern, and I guess is directed to the Deputy Reeve here. What if somebody in Division 5 wants to apply calcium?
The problem with calcium is not only in front of the yards is killing trees, but if he's got a neighbor, there's neighbors coming from the north going south past his place and they're wrecking on their cars is the reason the little for the ABS brakes and stuff are milliamps, not amps of power. So that's why the stuff was stopped. Not only the oil company wanted to put calcium in front of a house, it's killing the guy's trees, but second is the public using the road. We're getting damage on the car is the reason we quit. So I thought there's a new product coming out that's not corrosive. We're going to be trying next year.
We spoke yesterday with an industrial partner in the area, and they're currently watering the road every day, and their desire was to understand whether they could apply calcium chloride. They also indicated magnesium chloride is another option. I don't know whether the same concerns exist with that product or not, but they're concerned about some $25,000 or upwards of $25,000 a year that they pay to water the road. And I can't say I blame them, because you could treat the road with calcium chloride for likely less than that.
And that road has a lot of traffic going east and west of ratepayers with their cars coming all the way from south of Wostock all the way down. So it's they got a yard in one corner they got to apply to. So 25 grand wouldn't take long to pay for oil too.
Yeah, because as far as the policy goes, I don't have any issue with the proposal that's here, right? Because this is what we would be including in
This would be
In
the
the bylaw.
application process and the requirements in the proposed bylaw. That's correct.
But just as a reminder to councillors, the policy directs staff in terms of what we do. The bylaw is a basis for enforcing people outside administration acting in contravention.
So as a worst case scenario, if a ratepayer just took upon himself to apply calcium somewhere, is he then liable for that? Or we have nothing, if we don't have a bylaw, we really can't enforce any action, can we?
Today, we have no ability to enforce.
Have we checked the price of oil, Darby?
Not currently, no. We had a rate provided to us in January for 2022 budget. And then we had a updated price when we went to purchase the product for the year. There was about approximately 30% increase. So we'll be getting pricing prior to starting our oiling program next year. We have included for an increase in the cost of oil for 2023.
We can pre-price the price of oil, eh? We book it?
If we spent money and got our oil tank repaired, we could buy it when prices are low and use it in the following year. But my understanding is the burner on our oil tank is not operational. So we're not able to remove the oil that's in the tank or get it working for our own use.
By the time you get it heated, that much oil heated up, you're not gonna save no money. Price of oil drops, so we'll have to see what it does in the spring, right?
So who, if a person does their own, okay, Division 5, it's only oil, and he does oil, pays for it, and then the neighbor has a silage haul, so is the county involved anywhere in there in that damage to the road?
Our intent of the bylaw would put the responsibility of the dust abatement onto the applicant. So if there is need for repair, it will be on the applicant.
Do we not have any bylaw that for damaged roads? Like these guys,
A road use agreement for silage, don't we?
yeah,
So in our current road use bylaw, it doesn't speak to dust abatement. Under a road use agreement, we do allow oil field companies or road users to apply dust suppressant where they're doing a heavy haul or an extended haul. But under the current road use bylaw, it doesn't allow somebody to put a product on the road without our authorization. So that's what we want to address with the proposed transportation bylaw, because it'll be more just from a traffic bylaw to an all-encompassing transportation bylaw for the entire road laws.
we do put dust abatement or oil dust abatement on some roads.
The county does, yes.
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 So, okay, so if somebody has a silage haul, they're moving a rig or oil, and they damage the road.
Under the road use agreement, they would be responsible for any repairs. But most large farms out here, they don't have road use agreements. It'd mainly just be oil fields.
But wouldn't our road use agreement carry that on?
So if your question is regards to a heavy hauler damaging the road, then their road use agreement would cover them. But if your neighbor got a dust control product applied in front of their house and you drove through it and rutted it up, we don't have the ability to go back onto you to make the necessary repair, pay for the necessary repairs. It's general wear and tear on the roads. So our road use agreement just goes on to select road users because it's one for each company that is hauling oil or the pipeline company has a road use agreement.
Okay, so their road use agreement, is it only for a specific road?
That's correct.
It's not a blanket across.
No, it's for select roads. So we define in the agreement which roads they can use. And if they are caught on other roads, then we have the ability to fine them for that.
Okay, that's good enough.
Okay, but just to clarify here, a farmer does not need a road use agreement to haul silage,
No,
right?
that's correct. They do not.
Because it's deemed to be a farming
Okay,
operation.
who do you deem to be,
The feedlot in St. Michael needs a road use agreement.
yeah,
So when do we go from farmer to feedlot?
Yeah.
1,000 cattle or 10,000? What's the? Just
You
ask.
really want to go there?
Well, I-
no, and it's true.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
I used to do, silage, eh? So we hauled probably 1 mile, eh, from either this side of the field or that side. And that was, but that's only for 1 day. It's not for,
Well, but then you get down to a farm operation and I think, Neil, you know why I asked
Yeah.
if you wanted to get into that. But I think what you have to look at here is now you got these farmers that are farming 10, 12, 15,000 acres of land. So the amount that they're using particular roads, not only to haul the grain from the combine to the yard, but also from the yard back out to the elevator. Now, granted, if you have 3,000 or 4,000 cows, you're going to be hauling a lot of bales. You're going to be hauling silage. You're going to be a lot of this stuff as far as hauling feed out is done in the winter time when your roads are frozen. But we also have a potato farm in our area, which the number of trips that this guy makes with potato trucks is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But he's classified as a farmer. So can you, like, and I think we looked into that where farmers are exempt even in respect to road bans. If you got a road ban on a road, technically a farmer is exempt to a certain,
Only when he's hauling fertilizer.
only for life.
Fertilizer, yeah. If you're doing grain in the spring, we got a road ban. The Alberta government has for fertilizer.
And probably feeding cattle with hay doesn't apply to bans, I think.
So, Mr. Reeve, we're kind of straying from the topic, although this is very closely related to what we brought forward. What we're indicating is that there are many, what you are reinforcing is that there are many factors that affect the condition of the road. When we as a county own the road and own the dust abatement, that's one thing. When someone personally, privately rather, undertakes a dust abatement, their recourse will not be with the county. They need to take on the risk that somebody's going to drive tons and tons of potatoes over that stretch of dust abatement, and they'll need to either maintain it, or at a certain point, if we are unable to get them to maintain it, we will need to revert it back to gravel. So there are some relationships between these two topics. What we're trying to do is make sure we get the bylaw right. So at this point, we're talking about a pre and post inspection with a refundable deposit. Once they put on the dust abatement, oil or other product, we ensure that it's compliant. And if those sections of oiled or other technology dust abatement roads degenerate, somebody needs to be prepared to pay for it. If we didn't put the dust abatement down, I'm not sure it makes sense for the county to fund the maintenance and repair of those pieces. So that's why we brought it here, because this is a complex matter.
Well, and I think that anybody that's applying to have their own dust control, they got to appreciate that they're doing it on municipal infrastructure. And we're not going to control or restrict traffic from going on that road. We're not going to detour our traffic just because somebody oiled in front of their house type of a deal.
And one question I did want to get some consensus from council on is if an applicant were to apply an oil product similar to the county applying oil in front of residences, once it starts to pothole out, will the expectation be that the county maintains that over a 5 or 7 or whatever time frame we put on it, or is it going to be up to the applicant to maintain the potholes?
I don't know. Good question.
Well, go ahead.
You know, like the county is doesn't want any responsibility of anything now.
That's one solution.
Okay? And yeah, and I'm not looking at that solution because, in other words, down the road from your dust control, there's a rut, so you have to go fill it up yourself or hire somebody to fill it. The county's not going to be even sending a grader pretty soon. If you're looking at that.
Because under the MGA, we have a right, we have a duty to maintain our road network.
Right.
And if we know if there's a hazard, we have to make sure it's addressed for the safety of the road users. So if we are allowing private dust abatement put on, we either need to enforce maintenance of the dust control, or we have to take on the maintenance of it once it's applied properly.
I have a question. So Division 1 doesn't allow calcium. Say someone in Division 4 doesn't want calcium. And is there a bylaw for Division 5 not having calcium?
Currently, there's not. We propose to put it into the new transportation bylaw as directed by council. If council
So
wants to allow it, then we will not put that in.
Right now, we got
See-
a motion that,
well, but enforcement for bylaws, so that's just gonna open, I know other people that, you know, are not in favor of calcium. I'm not in favor of calcium, but how do you have one division being able to, you know, ban it and you get a request everywhere else in the county for the same thing, so.
Mr. Reeve, it is highly unusual, and one division hasn't banned it. As I recall, it was council that approved. Is it in a policy?
no, we made a motion
It
in
was a motion.
5.
It's just simply a motion at this time, so really it has no teeth. It's something that we're now acting on. But it is somewhat unusual for one technology to be disallowed in one division while not in others. And you're right, you're gonna have people in neighboring divisions saying, what about us?
Yeah, I mean, if you put that into bylaw, I think it's almost like working the proceeding in the county right away. It's kind of a given. Do we have a bylaw? I think we probably do, right? Do we enforce it?
This broader transportation bylaw will strengthen that.
So for a private individual doing dust control, is there the pre and post inspections are what, 175 each?
There is nothing now. That's why we're bringing this forward.
Is there a
So we're asking,
deposit?
if that's what you want. We're recommending that there would be a pre and post.
And is there a deposit on the work?
That's what we propose, yes.
Any idea what that is?
I would recommend that the deposit be equivalent to the cost of the application of the product, for the simple fact that if they do it and do it wrong and we have to go back and redo it, we need to ensure we have enough money to pay for it and it doesn't have to come out of taxpayers' dollars.
Okay, so our current policy right now says we don't do any private dust abatement.
That's correct.
Is that a policy or is that a motion?
Our policy outlines which locations we will do. It doesn't address the application of private dust abatement. So that policy for private dust abatement was rescinded by council.
We just do policy roads.
We just do the policy roads under the dust abatement policy. That's correct.
So I guess the question would be to council, is that the procedure we want to follow going forward here? Where we only do our own roads and no privates? Because right now, if a private person wants to do it, he's got to hire his own contractors.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And that would be the case in the future as well.
Yeah. And
This is just providing the process for application for pre and post inspection and what happens when the road fails.
And currently, the only way for a private entity to apply dust abatement would be under a road use agreement. We don't have any policy or bylaw that would allow it otherwise.
I guess if a private individual is doing dust control, he should be the one that makes sure his contractor is going to give him a good product that's going to withstand. Because he would also know, like, if you're living along 580, you know, you're going to have a lot of heavy truck traffic on that particular road. Intense heavy truck traffic, right? But if you're living in a small acreage out in the back 40 or whatever, where there isn't a heck of a lot of traffic, like the individual would have to make his own assessment. I mean,
We're not saying we'll regulate which product they use. Under our dust abatement policy, we allow either an oil or calcium chloride. Our intent was to reference the bylaw back to the policy so that we didn't have to keep changing too. If council does want to allow other products, we need to have it all under the policy. Speaking to our proposed MG30 trial, if it is successful, we would recommend that we include that in our list of approved products. We'd also have allowed alternative products under a road use agreement. If they are found to work well, then we may also allow those for other private individuals.
So that actually is another question. Oh no, the type of product. We do have limitations on the range of products here already, so. We have not indicated that there should be a closed group of suppliers that are approved to do this in Lamont County. We stopped short of that. That is an option.
well, the other part is with calcium, you can
Send a grader through it and he'll.
and repack it.
You know, how can we tell somebody how they're gonna put oil on or when we can't do it ourselves? We don't know how to do it ourselves. It flies apart for us, eh? You know, like, yeah, like you're opening up a can of worms here like you never seen before.
We're not opening this can of worms. We're responding to direction from council back on June.
I can see that.
I think
But
we,
to your point, if we recognize that putting oil down on a road is challenging, then you would want to build in some sort of safeguards.
Because that's what it is. You know, like, why are we, if, like our policy roads, we're redoing them every second year because they're flying apart. They're not put on properly.
so on calcium, I mean, I've had reports of the county laid down calcium and then the grader operator either didn't pay attention or whatever and worked it over. Or the gravel, calcium was put down and then the county gravelled over top and the calcium was worthless. So what happens in each one of these cases, it's almost take this information and see what happens. It's nothing but questions, and we'll be reviewing this 4 times every summer.
I did have discussions with staff here, late summer and the fall. Our calcium dust abatement program, we deliberately did not spread through the dust abatements at the start so that we could ensure that if there is any residual product there, it's still in good shape until we could get there. Any that did need gravel, we added gravel and mixed it in. In regards to grader operators blading through it, I've proposed that we ensure we give a map to each operator so they know where they are. With our current policy, they're not going to change. So from year to year, it's going to be the same locations because we don't have any private dust abatements going down. And if we do get a road use agreement that comes in that's new to the area, we're going to ensure that the grader operators know what product's being applied, where it's being applied. So we're going to try and be proactive on the dust abatements so that we're not wrecking them by spreading through them, or we're not blading through them, especially if they're blading after a rain. It's hard to see where the gravel stops and where the calcium starts.
But we're having that with oil surfaces now. The grader operators, they shorten it and shorten it and shorten it. Next thing you know, you have nothing left, eh?
Yeah, and I did see a few of those here this summer where the grader operator is trying to fill in some of the holes to reduce the amount of potholes that need to be patched. Hopefully with our new pothole repair crew this summer, we won't have those instances as well. We're trying to get caught up on our oil dust abatements. So the plan is to try and get a third of them re-oiled this year. Hopefully we can do a better job this year than we did in 2022.
You know, I see my own, I bet you from when I started, probably short from either end, maybe 50 feet, maybe more. You know, we paid a lot of money for it. And I had some complaints from other ratepayers. And I told them you put a flag up where the end of your, so it doesn't pass that, eh? So it worked for a while until they knocked the flag over, eh?
And
Yeah.
And it is my understanding, it's been a few years since the county has done private dust controls. We redid 2 this summer that were outstanding. But eventually we're going to have a lot of these dust abatements that are going to be beyond repair. So if we do have a bylaw that addresses private dust abatement, we can use the same rationale for how long we would maintain them, fill the potholes, versus eventually just either giving the option to have it redone or turn it back into gravel.
And it would be redone at the applicant's cost.
Yes.
So there are sort of 3 places on this continuum. No private dust abatement, and we take no responsibility if somebody does it. Right? The middle ground is kind of what's proposed in this report, that we have private dust abatement with various conditions on the owner. And, you know, maybe the third one is there can be private dust abatement, but only by a group of preferred suppliers or qualified suppliers. That way we take out of the equation some of that pre and post inspection. However, even in that instance, there's still going to be obligations on the applicant to maintain. And if they don't maintain, then we turn it back to gravel.
I thought when we started this, that's what it was, preferred applicators or whatever, suppliers. So that if there's 3 or 4 that we know what kind of work they do, then we don't have to go and check them all the time. I thought that's what it was.
That might have come up in conversation when council was making budget decisions in the first half of last year. Now we're bringing this back so that we can make sure this is done in a way that council wants.
Point number 5 seems to be the stickler here, right? And you mentioned, Darby, that as for the MTA, the county is responsible for maintaining its road infrastructure.
Yes, the
So,
county is responsible for maintaining the infrastructure and correcting any known issues.
okay, so in order to make this work, in my opinion, the only way this thing would work is the private individual does it. The calcium kind of falls apart. Or in the case of oil, which maybe should last longer, but there's two things we can do here. We can either, county will fix it, but bill the person that did the dust abatement. That's one way of looking at it. Comes down to, though, we're responsible for maintaining that road, right? So
Yes.
he put oil, we allowed him to put oil. If there's a pothole, does that pothole becomes our responsibility, even though he paid for the oil? I don't think we can pass on the maintenance of that road to the individual ratepayer. We can let him oil it, but once it's oiled, I think that road reverts to responsibility as an oil portion of our road. Now, if you want to charge him for fixing the potholes on it, I guess that's something you can look at. But I think you also have to put in this thing somewhere that you can't put a 5-year time limit or whatever. You got to put in there, in the county's view, if this road condition is deteriorated to the point where it's unsafe, and that can be after 1 year, 2 years, or whatever, then the county should be able to go there and reclaim that road and put it back to gravel. I don't think we can give them any guarantees or time lengths of 5 years to guarantee a product or whatever. I think the responsibility for maintaining that infrastructure is still ours. He may pay for it, but even after he pays for it, I think the responsibility to maintain that road falls back on us. If we want to do it on a cost recovery basis, you can do that via the contract that he signs. But otherwise, I wouldn't be giving him 2 years for this and 5 years for that. I think I would just say, if it's gonna deteriorate in the view of the county, it needs to be reclaimed, we can do it.
I think that's good practical direction for us. Mr. Reeve, do you think that that person ought to have the first opportunity to fix it himself before we do it and bill him?
What's he gonna fix it with, though? I mean, if he wants to do it, I guess he could.
Mix it in this.
Yeah, you make a good point. Not everybody has
You got a job with
an
the-
oil mixer in their backyard.
Somewhere.
What this may end up doing is dissuading people from making the application, and maybe that's okay.
So then you're gonna have back to what they used to do, any used oil, pour it on the road for dust control.
Yeah, it's
Well, so
that's a private fix for the road, Dad.
We're sure that, no, but that's what, hey, that's what was happening. Right?
you mean drain the oil out of your Kenworth and put it on the gravel?
Well, sure, what, you gotta do something with that oil, so might as well put it on the road so I don't get any dust in my yard.
I think there might be an environmental issue with that. I'm
You
not
mean
sure.
you guys still don't do that?
No, I paid for dust control.
Did you investigate, Darby, if there's any other municipalities that have a private dust control policy?
We can't find any other municipalities with a private dust abatement bylaw. The only private dust abatement going down is typically under a road use agreement. So it'd be oil field companies, heavy haul companies, pipeline companies, putting down dust abatement for people along the roads that they're using. Most other municipalities are either not doing it or doing it in-house and charging a fee.
So Deputy Reeve White has brought up an interesting question, and that was, and it'd be interesting to hear from others where you are. Do you prefer to have a group of pre-qualified applicators of oil or applicators of calcium or applicators of some other limited number of technologies and dispense with some of the pre and post inspections? Or do you prefer that we be actively involved and then people can choose anybody they want?
Well, I think if you go with, if you have three and if you use these three, the fee for checking, post and pre and after, whatever. And if you go with somebody else, then there's gonna be a fee, right? If you use these three, it's, you don't have to pay it because we know what they're doing.
Anybody else?
You know what you're gonna get? You get people that said, well, you guys wrecked my dust control. You're gonna be sending out somebody there. Say, who did this? Did we do it or did he do it? You know,
That argues for an application.
right. Right.
This kind of reminds me when we quit doing driveways and we have private guys doing driveways and the stories we hear are the results.
Once
If-
again, the far left option is to just not allow private dust abatement, and whatever people do, that'll be their problem.
Sounds simplest.
But we will still need to have some enforcement mechanism. People who
Good oil from their.
don't do dust abatement properly, we have to fix it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd be in favor of having three set people because if you choose your own applicator and he screws up, it's your responsibility.
You told me,
You told me to use this guy.
yeah. But then, like I said, if, when they start breaking up, who's to determine if it's, was it our operator that graded through there? Or was it that it was not put on a good road? Didn't have a base.
Councillor Wick, I don't think we've heard from you.
I think you guys are gonna set yourself up for, repairs. Once we have these people come in and we have an applicator, say we have the three. We have three approved. They come in, they do the job. As soon as they're done that job, they've collected payment. That doesn't mean that they're gonna do any maintenance on it. Maintenance is gonna be on the hands of the town. So, but we made a policy that we're not doing dust abatement anymore. So we're kind of, our hands are tied the way we did this one.
So you're kind of arguing the same place that Councillor Anaka is. We don't encourage private dust abatement. If you do it, great, but we're gonna hold you to a standard.
And if we come there and it needs some grading or
Yeah.
maintenance for public safety, we just do it. We don't ask for permission.
Yep. So I think we've kind of heard the same thing from Councillors Wick and Aka and maybe Councillor and maybe the Reeve. I'm not sure exactly where you've landed.
I think you're gonna throw some ideas out. I guess it's up to Darby and his team to see what they don't file out they can.
Don't really want to bring two alternatives forward. I'm trying to narrow.
Either yes or no.
I'd say we do private dust controls, but
We allow.
where we allow.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't do them, we allow. But that, once they're done, we're still responsible for the maintenance of that road. And within the first year for calcium or whatever, that maintenance may be at the cost of the landowner or the applicant.
Can I ask this question? Why don't we want to be doing it anymore?
Boss.
The
Well, it's gonna be the cost for anybody.
So the subsidy was greater than 50%, if I recall.
Well, okay, so cut that subsidy, cut this subsidy.
So
down.
what this does is it puts 100% of the cost on the resident.
Even if you put the 100%, at least you're doing it and you're maintaining it.
Okay, so Darby, if we were to get back into the business of doing private dust abatement, I suspect you couldn't do it with the forces that you currently have and achieve the level of service on grading and drainage and patching and other services.
Without knowing how many historically the county has done, and if we're gonna be charging full rate, not knowing how many applicants we would get. I mean, if it was 1 or 2 oil applicants a year, that would add a couple of days to our program. If we had a handful of calcium applicants, again, a couple of days. If we have 50 applicants for calcium at full cost, that's in excess of 3 weeks worth of work, depending on where they are, because we have to move the crews around.
That means you can't get your program done.
Yeah.
You could also put a limit. You could also put a limit on the amount of, say you get 50 applicants. First 20 are the only ones getting done this year. You could do a progression. You'll be the next in line next year kind of thing,
We'll
right?
leave out everybody in Division 1.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what-
they get-
Very true, that's the difference. No, we had a time limit. We tried to stick to that, eh? If you didn't put an application before April 1st, you didn't get one, eh? So, how many people? How many people you get?
They're pretty strict.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you stick to that, eh?
That was the policy I worked under before too. If you didn't apply by May 1st, you didn't get it for the year.
Yeah.
We did also offer a second application in August. Big difference there is we were doing a top spray of calcium versus working it in, and we weren't doing any oiled private dust abatement. So it was just water truck and distributor, and that was it. So it was a very efficient program, but not as effective in long-lasting effects of the product.
Did you have many complaints?
We always had complaints.
Yeah, there you go. So regarding to what you do,
So then, would it be something to look at, Darby, where you do 5 private calcium applications and 2 oil applications per year on a cost recovery basis?
We can put together a policy, bring it back for council. We can review our plan for the year and see what we could fit in with everything else and bring back a policy that would.
You said 5?
I just wrote 5, could be 3. I don't think you're gonna have a overly great influx of people wanting to do private dust abatement when it's gonna cost
The
them
full cost, yeah.
In
full
my
rate.
experience, as the cost has gone up, the number of applicants has gone down.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we offer it.
Okay.
And I like the process of, as Councilor Wick has said, where you apply by April 30th or whatever.
That's what I said.
No.
April 1st or whatever, the 15th. If you don't, you advertise that in the paper and that's it.
And I guess it's either first come, first served, or we're
Yeah.
picking names out of a hat. It has to become random if we have more applicants than we have.
I don't think you should get that many.
You put it in deposit.
And do that.
But we're gonna have to kind of somehow figure out a cost that we can relate to these people too, right?
Well, we can calculate.
Well, you'd be able to
That's
know
what
that
they
before
can do
April.
that.
You'd be able to get a
We
cost.
we can calculate that.
Yeah.
How many meters is it?
50 feet.
400 feet, so 122 meters.
Very good. That gives us something to work with. Is that a kind of a consensus?
That's where I would go.
So then the last thing that we need to kind of readdress is the question of calcium chloride allowed? Allowed in only 4 of 5 divisions or not allowed anywhere? What you've described suggests allowed, but
Is there anything different, new? That's not on the road? I thought there was when we walked around in that.
There are a lot of dust suppressant products on the market. There's a lot with different names and they're the same product. A number of counties have done trials on different products, see what works, what doesn't. If what we can do is go back to those municipalities, find out what has worked, what hasn't, and come up with a list of non-corrosive ones. The MG30 product that we're going to be trialing this year is non-corrosive. It's some studies have shown it's very similar to rainwater. Take that as with a grain of salt because that's not my opinion. That's just what the literature I've read. There are other products out there that they market as environmentally friendly. I don't know whether that means they're non-corrosive. They just means they're environmentally friendly. So we could put together a list of products, and if council wants to trial them, we can look at that. We just need to know in advance where we're going to trial them, how long we're going to trial them. Is it going to be a budget amount coming from our existing budget, or something we have to plan for 2024 or 2025?
We did approve a budget for a test plot for this MG30, did we not?
The MG30 is going to be coming out of our existing budget, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
But we're already gonna do a test area on that stuff, aren't we?
Yeah, so if we utilize another product that has a higher cost, then we may not have enough money to complete the program.
Right.
We can put together a list of non-corrosive products for council's review.
Okay.
And while we're not looking for the decision today, it may be that the industrial proponent that we met with yesterday that exists in Division 5 may be willing to do a trial using magnesium chloride instead of calcium chloride. But we're not,
You gotta find out if it's just as corrosive before you do that.
Magnesium chloride is MG30.
oh. Same
This is
stuff.
what?
MG30. It's the same product we're going to be trialing this year.
And it's less
So how
corrosive.
much chloride or how much calcium in there?
MG30, I believe, has a fraction of calcium, but it's mainly magnesium chloride. Their tests have shown is as corrosive as rain. So that's what I've read. A lot of there are a handful of municipalities that have gone from using calcium and are just using MG30 magnesium chloride. They find it lasts longer, goes down the same process.
When you find out what it is, send me the specs on it before we
Absolutely.
put it on the road, please.
Okay. Are we good?
Motion. Yeah, just to receive his information. Doesn't look like you have it. Mr. Reeve, perhaps council could make a motion to receive the private dust abatement bylaw briefing as information. Oh, it's in the agenda.
It's in the agenda.
Apologies, yeah. Item 7.2 on page 3.
Do we have to revert back to the regular
Not yet.
council meeting or do this in committee of the whole?
You can do this in committee of the whole.
All right, then I'm looking for that motion. Roy?
I move that Lamont County Council accept the private dust abatement update as information.
Questions or concerns? Debate?
Ranaka.
Seeing none, those in favor?
Yeah.
That's carried 5-0.
Mr. Dietz can stay where he is. Some time ago, Deputy Reeve White has asked questions about the power line crossings in the industrial heartland area. This was as part of the presentation on the GMSS, and Mr. Dietz has some answers for you.
So as requested, we've explored potential amendments in existing procedures dealing with underground installation of power lines at road crossings in the industrial heartland. This area is serviced by Fortis Alberta. In discussion with Fortis, the existing service agreement lays out the requirements for power line installation along the county roads. In dealing with the installation of power lines, I broke out into two scenarios. There are transmission lines and their service lines. When I say transmission lines, I just mean the mains, not the AltaLink transmission lines throughout the county. So in regards to the transmission lines, Fortis has indicated that their financial responsibility is to install overhead lines along county roads and for road crossings where it crosses a county road. Where a line crosses a primary or secondary highway, Fortis may install the power line underground depending on the highway and the type of amount of traffic that highway sees. If Lamont County were to request Fortis to install the placement of an existing and or replacement line at road crossings underground, the county would be required to pay the difference in cost between an overhead crossing versus an underground crossing. Depending on the type and size of the line, this cost could be in the range of up to $50,000 per crossing. In regards to service lines, as council knows, these are the lines that run from the mains to the property. Lamont County has the ability to dictate whether service lines that require a road crossing within the industrial heartland be installed underground or overhead. The cost of installation of the power service is the responsibility of the developer, so the increased cost to install a road crossing underground would not have to be borne by the county. Currently in the GMSS, there's no requirement for a power line road crossing be installed underground within any areas of Lamont County. That being said, after the time of writing this report, I did get a response from Fortis that in January of 2021, we entered into an amendment to our servicing agreement with Fortis that states any services within the Heartland area will be installed underground.
Because this all started about 10 years ago when they started doing power lines, and as industry moves in and people are moving out, or even them coming in at first, so we've been pushing to get in the Heartland to get a policy done. About 4 years ago, they came in, they were doing a power line along 562. They went under 562, and at 201 and 562, they were supposed to go under, and the guy designing it, it was for, I'll think of the name, but anyways, the guy designing it, his name was Jeff. He took upon himself not to design under 201. The power company, I don't think it's ATCO, who you just mentioned, Fortis, Mr. Huinka, that's the area rep out of Red Deer, come, and they were supposed to put that one underground, so that why we were pushing this in the Heartland, the people that live there and stuff, if industry is pushing them out, then at least they have an option of taking their buildings with them without the extra expense of putting power lines underneath. In the meantime, these guys never did a 201 or 562, and then Battle River did a yard service on 564 between 201 and Highway 45, and when they came in, they were supposed to go underground, and they chose not to listen and put it over. It was just if a plant's coming or whatever, it's just that much quicker for them to come in with their big equipment and stuff and start doing whatever they got to do, right? Because sometimes it's a 2-year wait. So any new power lines, that's what we're trying to get this policy in for any new power lines to go under. Unless they're real big transmission lines, like within reason, right? Yeah. The 3-phase lines normal go under.
Okay. But Darby, at the conclusion, didn't you mention that we have an agreement or a memorandum of understanding?
To the master agreement that dictates Fortis will design all services that require a crossing to go underground. So all the mains, they're not required to design them that way. If council wishes that we require any new or replacement lines be installed, the county would be on the hook for the difference in the cost. But when it comes to a service, it's up to the developer to bear those costs, and council's already laid out an agreement with Fortis to cover those requirements in the design phase. I can reach out to Battle River, and we can work to ensure that any future work they have in the Heartland area is done to the same standard.
There are no new yards for Battle River. There are no new yards starting in the Heartland because it's not allowed, right? So it's just basically, this one here, they put a second service in because in the Heartland, we're not allowed to start a new yard, right? So, industry comes, buys 40 acres or whatever. It's not the REA anymore. It's the power line company. So it shouldn't be that much of a problem. If they cooperate, but like I say, that guy Jeff that was designing it, all the equipment's there and everything, and they still had a opportunity to do it right and didn't. And then the guy, like I said, from Red Deer coming, he was pretty upset because they were going to come back, but it's been 3 or 4 years. They still haven't been back as service for Tamarack to a new battery.
So Fortress, we have an agreement with them that they have to go underground?
We did amend our master agreement with them, so all of the new services within the Heartland area will be designed to go underground where they cross the road.
At no cost to the county.
That's correct.
Perfect.
So then really there's, accept this as information.
Yep.
So
Okay. Tim, can you just go back to the last motion we made? Can you, oh,
Yes, you're right.
no, let's go down
So
the other way. Down.
It's,
Dust control.
Mr. Reeve, it's in
Nope.
your agenda.
No, I'm looking for the dust control one, Peter. Hey, but did we put committee of the whole or did we put Lamont County
We will
Council?
correct it. Oh,
You
good.
did?
It is corrected. yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay, so then I need a motion that the committee of the whole accept the power line crossings as information. Aaron?
Make a motion that Lamont County Council accept the power line crossing in the industrial heartland area update as information.
Okay, we got to go back to committee of the whole though.
Oh, committee of the whole, sorry. You just want me to come back right as committee of the whole, not
Yeah.
county council?
Please show
Great.
the motion.
Sorry, that Lamont committee of the whole accept the power line crossing in the industrial heartland area update as information.
No,
Perfect.
leave it. Leave it.
And then do you want that reverted back? We don't revert back yet
You
though.
need to vote first.
Yeah, all in favor?
Yep.
Okay. Now we got to revert back to the regular council meeting. Motion's on the board, whoever wants to make it.
The committee of the whole. We're back to the December 13th, 2022. Regular council meeting at 2:10.
Perfect, thank you, Dan. All those in favor?
Yeah.
It's carried. Okay, let's move on to item number 7.4, follow-up action tracking list.
Mr. Reeve, we continue to both keep track of the motions that the resolutions that council makes that we need to act upon and provide updates when we have made progress towards completion on them. There is one correction on page 69. It's the second one on the page that Lamont County Council direct administration to take action regarding private snow removal discussed in closed session. That one shows complete. It should show in progress. As has become our practice, those that show as complete today will not show on the next report. Happy to answer any questions.
So if it's not on this list, then it's complete?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm not sure if I missed the status of resolution. Just a sec here. (2022-119).
You'll have to tell me what that is. I don't know what they are by heart. Is that the stop order on the development?
Yes.
Yeah, so you'll recall council approved a plan of action going forward that involved the proponent providing a security, that involved the proponent agreeing to a development agreement, and that looked to the developer providing a plan to address the stormwater management plan issue. That direction was provided to staff. The developer has met the first two of those three. I don't know whether it's on this list, but the third one continues to be in progress.
So there was, the security was provided?
It was, as was the sign off on the development agreement.
Okay. And the deadline for that is August of 2023?
That seems like the right
Okay.
time frame, yeah. If you'd feel better about us putting that one back on and showing that it's in process, we can do that.
Yeah, I'd prefer that. And then if there are any updates, it'll be
Very
on
good.
everyone's mind.
Any other comments? There's no other comments. Can I have a motion to accept the follow-up action tracking list as information? Right?
Move that Lamont County Council accept the follow-up action tracking list as information.
Questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Yeah.
It's carried 5-0. Okay, item 7.5. GIS report on MRF.
I've asked Mr. Boyko to rejoin us in the chamber. Hopefully he's making his way over. If you don't mind, Mr. Reeve, I'll just go and see whether he's distracted.
Okay.
So back on November 22nd, Council Committee of the Whole asked that staff bring a report forward regarding the operation of the MRF GIS system to the next council meeting. This is the next council meeting. The report was handed out at the beginning of the session and added to the agenda. Mr. Boyko.
Thank you, Mr. Tarnowski. So we have a briefing note here, and it breaks down a little bit of how the system is being used, what modules we have in there, and then actually some savings we've been able to find. So I'll just walk through it because council has just had it handed out today. So as many of you are aware, MRF Web GIS is an online format GIS, and what those systems do is they display and present geographical linked information. So you can link any information into GIS as long as you have the land location essentially to match that too. GIS is simply a database, and it whatever you can put in a database, you can display in a GIS format. It's readily used in
both in and out of the office. One of the things that it can do is it can show land features, infrastructure, parcel ownership, and things like that, so that staff and council and ratepayers can make informed decisions. Of the MRF system, it is an online system, so the MRF web is the key component. It's the main portion of GIS that we utilize. And then we have a number of modules that we've purchased as well. So we have the MRF field collector. And so essentially that it works both on and offline, and it's for collecting information, essentially reporting problems or hazards on the roadsides. These are the tablets that we have mounted in the graders that are, and other equipment that our operators can press corresponding buttons to show those features when they're out there. We have the MRF spray program, and this is a program to track and accurately record application of herbicide. This is actually one of the main things that this program was created for, to be able to log this information, going back to its its original form when it was called Capital Asset Management System, or CAMS. MRF Weed Inspector is again very similar to that the other collectors. This is an infield collection system, and it allows our staff to identify locations of infestations and then keep records of what they found. And the MRF Pest Inspector as well, again, very similar to the others. That's for pest situations. And then it allows us to be able to export shapefiles and such to do selection of properties for future inspections. And these modules have been used quite extensively, and the main reasoning for that is that our assistant ag fieldman was the original super user and the coordinator of our GIS services. And so they were, quite often used in that department on a regular basis. We do have a few other applications here that are not being utilized as much, as there are not really any super users in those departments, and they have not been utilized to their full extent. So the first module we have is the planning module. It's planning and development uses this to keep track of the reports, assessments, and planning of subdivisions. So this one is being used in the planning department, but it, again, could use a super user to help them with that those processes. The next one is the work orders, and this was a module that was introduced in late 2020. The work orders we've been using before that, we're using an Excel-based system for tracking that. This one has not, like, the processes, procedures, and stuff have not been developed for that, so it was never really implemented. And as you'll see at the end, we're not going to be renewing some of the modules, and this is one of the licenses that we'd intend on not renewing.
Which one? Sorry.
The work orders module. Asset management module is also another module that we don't intend on renewing. One of the things about that, it's a module designed to list the asset degradation, maintenance schedules, and other information to use for planning purposes with asset management. In our budget discussions with the budget committee, asset management was not listed as a high priority, so we're going to be not renewing that module as well.
Is the work orders service request?
That's correct. So,
Well, careful. Is it the service requests that are being received from counselors and residents?
oh,
No.
so so that's correct. So, and then the last one is the MRF gravel program. And so the gravel program has actually two phases to it. We have one that has been using to track spread rates, gravel on the road, that type of thing. it's been working fairly well. It has a few connectivity issues where things have to be updated manually. The second half of that is that there's a portion of that system that is able to be used to track inventories. And so the inventory system was not started until this 2022. So 2022, we did a parallel test on it. There is still some balancing that needs to be done to make sure that it works. But we did do a paper parallel test on it. There are some functionalities that were problematic with the connection. So the idea behind this one is that when they're at the pit, they can key it into the system from the loader, and it shows what truck, and there's some specific things they have to go in the right order. If a truck passes one or takes a different route, they can go out of sequence, and it causes the gravel checker additional work on the other end. If the gravel checker doesn't have as good of cell service, there's some problems with that. But overall, for the gravel side of it and the spread, it's been working good. We'll have to see the balancing on it to see if the inventory side of that is good. So, and just to kind of go back a little bit of the history, I probably should have started with this, but when MRF was first purchased by the county, a multi-year contract was signed. That was a 3-year contract for all of these modules. That contract originally expired in mid-2022 to assess the direction of GIS. Administration had re-signed that agreement with an extension until the end of December 2022, with the option then to be able to look at it and see if there's some things that can be addressed at this point. So we do intend, after looking at this, that we think that there can be some savings found by not renewing some of those modules. So if you go to the last page, you'll see the pricing of some of the modules that we're not using. So the asset management module has an annual license of $15,000. Spot satellite messenger, $2,800. Auto dial notification, $1,000. Planet satellite imagery using Google Earth, $11,734. The timesheet module is $17,000, and then a second gravel checker license that we don't believe we need at this point. So there's about $52,000 worth of savings. Overall, that contract costs us $142,000 on an annual basis. So what administration is recommending at this point, with the approval of a dedicated GIS technician in the budget, as was approved earlier today, administration will renew the main licenses for an additional year, and then make assessment of the system and any future changes during 2023, and of course report that back to council. I know there was a lot of information there in a very short time. Either myself or we can have Mr. Weeks come online as well with us to answer some questions if there is.
So are any of these non-renewals included in our 2023 budget?
They were all included in the budget, so there will be an additional 50,000 of savings that we can pull out of the 2023 budget.
So they were not?
They were not
They
pulled
were.
out of the budget as of yet.
Okay.
So
Yes.
that's correct.
Okay.
The timing of the report and the analysis didn't coincide with our budget process, so we'll see some additional savings there.
Number 4, the Planet satellite imagery. Haven't we entered into a partnership with a number of other municipalities in regards to our, oh, the name escapes me right now.
That is correct, our ortho imaging. So, yes.
Imaging, yes.
and that's why we can remove this imaging. So you're actually, Mr. Weeks had talked about that we've, since we have the high resolution ortho imaging, this imagery is quite low. And essentially it's using Google Earth and Google Maps to do it. So it's a bit of redundancy. So, we can cancel that money and put it to better use.
And maybe Darby has the answer for this, but a second gravel checker license, was that because we were planning on splitting up the haul into two different routes?
So in 2022, we utilized 2 gravel checkers. We only ended up needing both licenses for, I believe, 3 days when we got near the pit. And for the added cost of $5,000 per year, we just need to basically extend the haul an extra couple of days. At $50 an hour for 3 employees, essentially because of the haulers are paid by the ton kilometer, whereas the loader operator, scale house, and the gravel checker are paid by the hour. We can do a lot more graveling for $5,000.
So what you're saying is not to have that second.
Yes, for the amount it costs us, it's not cost effective for a couple of days every year.
And the other part is I'm a little confused because maybe I heard wrong, but I thought last week I heard that MRF wasn't working for a gravel program. And yet if I read the comments on the second page of the handout here, we are utilizing it in regards to spread rates and records management.
Yes, so
The area that there's a shortfall in is recording.
Recording and
The haul
managing
carts.
inventory.
Yeah.
So it has a module, a part of the module is for being able to track our inventory in each of our pits and where it's moved to. And that's the part that it was just, we started that implementation in 2022. And, a number of complaints from the staff who were working with it. But we still have to determine if the information was accurate in MRF compared to the paper copies that we used.
and the issues we ran into on the graveling program was in areas where we got into poor cell service because these are cell-based units. Our biggest issue is very poor cell service in the pit where we're getting our gravel from last year. So that's one thing we're going to try and address to see what we can do to increase cell service there, because it's a connectivity issue from the pit to the gravel checker. Yeah.
So is there a program where we can kind of record inventory and stuff?
Well, one of the things so traditionally GIS programs are a hub of information, and the GIS then links to other programs. So if you look at, one of the higher end systems, ArcGIS is probably the flagship. They utilize other databases that are specific for those type of things. MRF has been creating their own versions of these modules. And so that's a little bit of the balance. So, and if you look at, the cost of some of these different modules, like if you look at asset management is 15,000, timesheet 17,000, versus a gravel checker, which is only 5,000. That's because there's not very many other or organizations using that asset management or that timesheet module. So all of the development costs, all the fixes costs goes to the one or two users that are using it. And so from the gravel checker perspective, there's a few who are using it for that, the spreads and the making, knowing where the gravel's going, but not many are using it on that other side. So it's going to be the balance of looking to see, is the cost of using MRF system and fixing it up, is that more efficient than finding an inventory system that can match with that? And right now, like the Diamond Municipal Inventory System's not that great either. So it's going to be a matter of going, is an Excel-based system as good, or is the MRF going to be better, or is there another one that we can find? They're all, every system has its pros and cons, and we're just going to have to basically find the one that's most economical and efficient for us.
So as far as gravel inventory, do you know how much gravel, at the end of the day, do you know how much gravel you spread?
How much we spread, yes, it's in the MRF system, and the graveling maps that were provided were through the MRF. To get the inventory values and what we have in each pit, we do know that, but it's in an Excel-based spreadsheet. It's not in the MRF system. So we do know the information, but we weren't able to use the system to complete that. So.
See, and we were told that it's going to be control inventory. Like when you wanted to know what you hauled out totally, where it went, there would be running totals of that at any given time. You're saying that's not available?
No, that is available. The where it is and when it was hauled, yes. But what we have in inventory in other pits is not. There's two portions to this graveling system. The one that says where the gravel is and what the spread rate was is working. We've been using that for a number of years, I believe. But the second half of the module that says, what is in pit XYZ versus ABC, that part has not been fully balanced to make sure it's correct. So this was the first year of using that.
Okay, thanks.
It's like the first job for a GIS techie when we hire him.
Absolutely. That's going to be one of the things, is that the GIS technician is going to be there to make sure that that information is accurate and that it's coming in from all the different users. So they're going to be a coordinator between a number of departments.
Any other questions? If not, a motion to accept the GIS report on MRF as information. Well, Rodney, just go back there. We don't have to take any action on these proposed savings, do we?
No.
No,
Will
it's
be,
just information.
Yeah, that's just for information.
Yeah, so just need to accept the report as information.
That Lamont County Council accept the GIS report from MRF as information.
Thank you, Councillor Warwarwa. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, those in favor?
Yeah.
Carried 5-0. Okay, Councillor expense claim 7.6. I think it's yours, Councillor Anaka.
Hey, I was just wondering what the situation is with, like counselors haven't received any of the compensation since July 1st for cell phones, internet, and anything else?
Mr. Reeve, Mr. Boyko can perhaps supplement. I understand that on November 15th or so, after the closing of the council meeting, counselors asked Ms. Bodner for that exact question. And as I recall, she may have indicated that we need for you to be submitting that with your expense claim.
Yes, that's correct. So we did just double check with the auditors who should be preparing those claims, and the auditors don't recommend it being an automatic payment, that it should be something that that the counselors are each individually filling out. So we can pre-fill out the forms for council if that's what council desires, and then to have that signature coming on the bottom of the sheets. The reasoning behind some of that is that while, you know, the honorariums that council gets paid as normal is a budgeted salaried item, expenses are ones that they recommend that if counselors, because some counselors may not want to claim those expenses, and that counselors provide those claims on an individual basis. But we can definitely pre-fill them out if council desires that, and have council submit them back to accounts payable for payment.
So when were you gonna tell us? That's July, so there's August, September, and we're already at December, and if it wasn't for one guy noticing, when were you gonna tell us? You change the policy, or change how you do things and don't tell us?
Well, part of that change was just with some of the staff going off on sick leave and coming in between there. It you know, some of the things that were automatically done don't automatically happen. So
As I understand, Ms. Bodner clarified this for counselors on the 7th, but I like Mr. Boyko's solution. We can pre-fill it. All we'll need you is to apply your signature.
Okay, but is this not part of our remuneration policy?
Sure.
It is.
So for the auditors to be concerned about it as part of our remuneration policy, then we may as well start filling out expense reports for our salaries. But it is part of the remuneration policy, if I recall correctly.
It says there for cell phones. What they took out, was at one time we used to get for fax machines. Well, they took that out because fax was paid. But you get cell phones, you get computers.
Computer, internet, and
Yeah.
Have Tracy pull the remuneration policy?
You know, we've,
Yeah, the one thing I would say about that, the remuneration policy does set the rates. However, that is while it didn't used to be, a couple years ago, they changed it to be a taxable from a non-taxable. This was going back, they changed that it was more around the provincial MLAs claiming expenses, but it also fell with municipal officials, that those are taxable benefits now as opposed to part of the salary. So that's part of the reason why they want to keep it separate. But if council desires to have it that way, we can absolutely change back to that. It'd be part of the salary coming on your pay slip, and that's totally acceptable.
Well, no, it didn't come as part of our pay slip. It just was basically a separate check we got quarterly, if I recall correctly.
that's what it was. We got every quarter we got a check.
Yeah, it is now, though. It needs to be considered a taxable benefit. So that's why if you're going to do it automatically, the best way to do it is to add it to your pay slips. So it's going to be taxed either way. So if you choose not to fill out the form, then you're not taxed on that.
So what changed in the last 5 years? All of a sudden it changed
The provincial tax rules changed,
on July 2nd?
not on July 2nd.
Well,
In regards to the taxable benefit portion of that is what I'm saying.
Well, if you want us to do it on the expense claims, then you better amend the expense claim.
Ms. Bodner will be right in with the policy. She also advised that back on November 7th, she offered to pre-fill this out on your expense statements, and the response that she got was that we'll get back to you. So that may be why no action is being taken yet. But as Mr. Boyko indicates, we're happy to do that.
For what else changed that you're not letting us know? Might as well tell us so we can do it all the same day.
Mr. Reeve, if all of council could please abide by your code of conduct and deal with staff respectfully.
Part of the policy, Tracy.
So, okay, application of this policy, annual honorarium. Annual honorarium should be paid to members of council for the performance of their duties as elected officials. Basic honorarium shall be adjusted yearly by this chief financial officer to be equal to the cost of living adjustment provided to county employees and provided in Schedule A of this policy. Each member of council shall receive annual honorarium for the following duties: attendance at regularly scheduled meetings of council and agricultural service board, attendance at the following meetings: special council meetings, organizational meetings, council/management meetings, council retreat meetings such as strategic planning meetings, council budget meetings, and capital project meetings, agricultural tours, and county road tours. Meeting with residents and community groups. This would include open houses and public meetings, informal meetings with the CIO and staff to discuss county business, conducting annual evaluations of the CIO, meeting where attendance as a dignitary representing the county. This would include meetings of approved committee appointments, meetings with the media. This would include press conferences as supported by Lamont County's communications officer, emergency meetings to deal with disaster occurrence. Attendance at social functions as dignitaries, attendance at functions for staff and counselors, such as employee service awards, OH&S safety barbecue, Christmas dinner, farewell lunches. Attend at public events that are hosted by Lamont County, preparation for council and committee meetings, and liaison work with councilor division with residents and businesses. And then there's a per diem section. The deputy reeve is responsible for authorizing payment of the reeve's per diem. The reeve is responsible for authorizing payments of the deputy reeve's per diem. And then the reeve and deputy reeve are responsible for that council members submit their monthly expense claims. The per diem rate is again adjusted by the chief financial officer equal to the cost of living adjustment. In addition, council members' honorariums should be paid to a council member for attending meetings in person or virtually. The reeve if the reeve attends or participating at a meeting in an ex officio capacity, the reeve will serve as the appointed count committee member and is eligible to claim a per diem for attending the meeting. Members of council are to provide details of meetings that they have attended, including the length of the meeting, inclusive of travel, on the required monthly expense form. Councilor members are eligible for a per diem for each meeting attended outside of county municipal boundaries. And then a per diem will be paid for the attendance at the following conferences and conventions: RMA district meetings, RMA ad hoc meetings, meetings with other municipalities, meetings, regional reeves and reeves meetings, and joint council meetings, meetings with other government agencies and businesses, such as regional health, franchise utility operators, Heartland, MLA, and provincial federal agencies. Public planning meetings, not held as part of the regular council meetings, such as MDP, intermunicipal development plans, intermunicipal collaboration framework. Interviews, such as those for public committee members, council orientation meetings, professional development, subdivision and development appeal board, grand openings, special council training or informational sessions. All other meetings only if attendance has been approved by the reeve or council motion. Benefits, council members will be able to join the RMA group retirement savings, as well as council members are also eligible to participate in the county benefits program. Other compensation. So personal communication devices. So this is the ones that we're talking about here. Personal communication device, each council member shall receive a county issued tablet and a county issued cell phone. Should a councillor wish to maintain their own cell phone, Compensation will be provided as per the rate in Schedule A. And internet service, each council member shall receive reimbursement for the installation of high-speed internet. If installation is required after being elected, and a monthly allowance to cover basic high-speed internet operations cost, to cover basic high-speed internet operation costs from their place of residence at a rate that is reviewed annually and determined by the CFO and is in Schedule A. And that rate is high-speed internet, $100 per month, and cell phone use, $75 per month. And then council members receive a training and professional development. Each member of council should be entitled to a budget amount for training and professional development. This will include a provision for specialized training such as the elected officials education program, if the elected official has not already had such training. Council members will receive their 4-year allotment for training and development in their first year of office, and any remaining budget is carried forward to future years until the budget is spent or their term ends. Each member of council is responsible for keeping within their budgeted amounts for training and professional development, and council members are expected to report to council on the content and benefit of the courses that they take. And then conferences and conventions, each member shall be entitled to a budget amount for attending conferences, conventions, and other such functions. Again, each member is responsible for keeping within their budgeted amounts, and council members are expected to report to council on the conferences they attend. There's some exclusions here. If there's council member receives remuneration from another board, the council member shall not be paid by the county for the council member's attendance. And then again, same thing with the provincial, federal expenses are not to be paid by the county. So that's essentially it. And then there's the MGA, Bill C-44, and our reimbursements of expenses policy.
So Mr. Reeve, Ms. Kennedy will make copies of that for all of council.
So it does say in there that council members shall. It doesn't say must, and it doesn't say how it's going to be paid. So if council members choose that to be paid on a monthly basis, then that is, we're totally willing to do that.
It is done quarterly all the time.
Quarterly.
Yeah.
So I did talk to the auditor about this. Remember we had this discussion just the 5 year meeting. Auditor did say that yes, that is an animal control issue. We do have to separate the data. So Sherry, I have a goodness has been doing it for you. Shouldn't be there. You should be doing that. Have to separate the duties. And then after we had that discussion, I did come back to talk to council and I did offer a suggestion if I could add it on to a monthly. Make it easier, because I know you can't just add on 3. And the response I got from the reader, you know, anything.
Didn't know this was the next meeting, so we're letting you know.
Yeah, so I did do my homework from our discussions. I'm just, if they already did echo everything, they are not trying to be difficult, but we're just trying to put in some. I remember great.
I think councillors may also not be claiming the approved amount for cell phones. I think the Reeve is the only one that has a county cell phone. Right?
Have one.
No, basically, I believe I got $300 every 3 months, and everybody else got $5.25.
Oh, so
would
that
represent
does cover for your cell phone. Okay, very good. So it's not a discrete claim, it's part of the aggregate amount.
Okay, so we got to catch up here. I guess do whatever forms you need us to sign, and we'll sign them, and you can issue the checks before the end of the year here, clean up the books. And I guess if you're going to have to do it on the expense account, I guess I'm not sure where you're going to find 3 more lines here, what you're going to eliminate here.
Maybe.
Preferably not. But
We would be able to identify page 1 of 2, page 2 of 2, and you only need to sign 1.
to be totally honest with you, I think something we use very, very little of is our meal allowances. So do you need 3 separate lines for breakfast, lunch, and supper, or can you just go meals?
I think Ms. Bodnar can just put the description on the left and put the amount on the right. I don't think we need to have a column for that.
That's what I would suggest is prepare forms that we sign to make this, I guess, whatever you guys need.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think it's our understanding the council would like to do this quarterly, and we can certainly prepare a sheet for you to fill in, sign. Thank you.
Okay. Council good with that? But we just do whatever you need to do, Rodney, to get us catch up,
Yeah,
caught up at
absolutely.
the end of the year, and then we'll move forward from there.
Do all councillors expect to be in the office between now and December 31st?
We have a meeting on the 22nd.
22nd MPC.
Okay.
And I'm sure there'll be checks to sign between now and the end of the year.
We will target having that for you before the 22nd.
Absolutely.
Okay, are we good with that? Accepted as information, motion. Great.
Did we do the GIS already?
Yep.
Oh. I move that Lamont County Council accept the councilor's expense claims as information.
Questions or concerns?
Mr. Reeve, if Councillor Anaka could add the word update after claims, that would make sense.
I
Because we're
move,
not reviewing expense claims, we're reviewing an expense
Okay.
claims update.
I move that Lamont County Council accept the councilor's expense claims update as information.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No questions or concerns? All in favor? Yep. Carried 5-0. And I believe the next one is Deputy Reeve Whitus's NR Care 7.7.
Yeah, I don't know if Shane wants to come for this one or.
I think he might be monitoring, so
Mm-hmm.
Regional Chief can join us, that'd be great.
He's here. Yep.
With the NR Care, for the board meetings and stuff, who, besides myself, who else represents the county? Is there anybody else on the board?
On the board, no, it's just yourself.
Cause,
So we have a emergency response team committee, that's Deputy Chief Kelly that attends those. I'm on both the ER team and the management team.
Cause when we, had him before, our regional county, chief was always at the meetings, and, the other county, the city of Port Saskatchewan, Strathcona County and Sturgeon, the guy was absent, the last one, all at the meeting, plus, another representative, so I was just wondering
So they may
when that
be,
changed?
they may actually be on the board. We're not on the board. So I attend the annual general meeting, which is where those positions are elected to. So Strathcona, for example, I believe their fire chief was in an executive position on the board of Enercare. But we're involved through the management team and the ER team.
Just if I could add, I think that might rotate.
It
I
does.
think for a certain period of time, one or a few municipal chiefs are on there, and then on a rotational basis, others may draw in.
It's a standard, I would say, standard board or committee election process for those positions. But as for the board itself, we're not on the board. We're just on the committees and an active member of the association.
Okay, what I was getting at is when Chief Zions was on, he was at all the meetings, so I was just wondering why things changed.
So we're at all of our same meetings. It's just we're not on the board itself.
Mr. Reeve, I'm certain that Deputy Reeve White could invite the regional district chief along if he thought it was helpful, but it sounds like we're not sounds like we're not getting invited to the board meetings.
Correct. Yeah, we're actively involved with the management team, the ER team, from an operational perspective. The meetings you're referring to, those are board or master committee meetings, however you want to term it, of which you're a member of.
Okay.
I guess the question, Shane, is would it be worthwhile for you or the deputy chief to attend these things? Not sure what the agendas of these meetings are.
So again, I attend the annual general meeting of the executive of the Enercare committee, and then we attend quarterly management team meetings, and we already attend monthly ERT meetings. So we're actively involved with Enercare. It's just the two levels, similar to a council and administration function. There's the board function, and then there's the administration function. We're actively involved with the administration function.
I suspect the things that come to the board first go through the management or the executive committee.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been to all annual general meetings since I've been in this position.
Anything else? Nope. Good.
Mr. Reeve, if the Deputy Reeve feels that he needs to be supported at those meetings, I'd encourage him to pass the agenda along. I'm sure the regional chief would be more than happy to
No,
attend.
it's just at the meetings, they bring up what all the fire, what they're doing, and nobody lets me know what you guys are doing, so I'm gonna tell them what we're doing in the county, and it's gonna sit there like a bump on a log, so doesn't make sense to even go there then.
Well, Mr. Reeve, the regional chief does provide a report on the operations of the emergency services every 2 months.
Correct.
He'll be providing a report on January 10th.
So if there's something that you need at those meetings, just let me know. I'm happy to either prepare correspondence or come to support you. Yep.
Okay, motion to accept Enercare as information.
Lamont County Council accept Enercare as information.
Enercare
Report as information.
Okay, questions or concerns? Seeing none, those in favor?
Yeah.
Carried.
Thanks.
Thank you, Shane. Okay, I think that looks after the additions. We'll now move on to item number 8.1, director's reports.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. I don't know that there's much value in me going line by line through this report, but I've reflected on key meetings and activities, training and development, and I highlighted a few days when I was away. So you'll see that there are some meetings and activities associated with the Heartland Association, with the Hydrogen Hub activity that the Heartland Association is engaged in, various health and safety, meeting with town and village CAOs, RMA, meetings with Alberta Environment under their new name on Waterline, a couple of MPC meetings, couple of member meetings with residents on various matters, senior admin, organizational meetings, special council meetings. Meeting with the Minister of Transportation, and once again, meeting with the CEO, CAO committee with the towns and villages, budget committee, municipal information session, and etc. I've highlighted some specific engagement with staff, in addition to your normal day-to-day management by walking around. Very similar list of organizations in terms of activities. Be happy to answer any questions on any of those. And I've participated in some training, including the ARMA group, Alberta Association of Rural Municipal Administrators. We've completed the team skills curriculum with our leadership staff in the organization. Respect in the workplace, keeping up on various developments in law. I think this last one was Ms. McCann, Municipal Affairs Administrators Training Initiative, which has brought some interesting information that you'll be seeing in the new year in potentially some updates to policies. So I'm happy to answer any questions that councillors may have.
Don't have any direct questions for Peter?
If I'm not mistaken, Regional Chief Milliken and our CFO, Mr. Boyko, will be reporting in January 10th.
What's that again?
Shane and Rodney will be reporting at the first meeting in January, providing department reports. And of course, Mr. Elignac will be reporting to Ag Service Board tomorrow.
No questions? Seeing none, motion to accept the report as information. Right.
I move that Lamont County Council accept the Office of the CAO report as information.
Questions or concerns? Seeing none, those in favor? Yep.
Yeah, in favor, yep.
Carried 5-0. Okay, next item on the agenda, number 9, committee reports. Start from my left, go around the table. Roy?
Okay, Wellington Seed Cleaning Plant, nothing to report. Our AGM is tomorrow night. Lamont County Housing Foundation, Mandera Lodge, 20 occupied, 18 vacant. The self-contained units, Kerzhanowski and Mandera full, Dr. Strilchuk full. Self-contained units in Andrew, Heritage Court is full, and Elk Park is full. I don't have my sheet, Neil, for Lamont. I know Lamont has about 11 or 13 vacancies at the lodge, but I don't have any information on the self-contained in Bruderheim or Lamont. I think there might be one vacancy in all of those, but otherwise I think they're full.
Yep.
And Mandera Lodge manager is retiring. We are in the process of hiring a new manager for Mandera. I think deadline for applications is the 16th. So I guess there'll be a new manager for Lamont in the coming new year. I mean in Mandera, sorry. And I guess that's it. And Rodney, I have some financials from the Housing Foundation here. I'll give those to you. Okay, very good, thanks.
Mr. Ruarwa?
Yeah, we had a last week we had a water commission meeting. We passed our budget. We're a surplus. There's no increase in the water rates this year. And we're actively moving into our new office in Bruderheim, hoping to be there for February 1st, fully operational. And our new manager is still in training for the next month or two. That's about it.
Thank you. Councillor Wick.
Yep, on December 2nd, I attended, with the Reeve, the Alberta Industrial Heartland Association meeting. I'm pretty sure the Reeve will have a little more comprehensive report.
Okay, on last Thursday, we had an our care meeting. Pleased to announce there's going to be a 0% increase in our membership fee. They got 38 active members, and that's about all there's to report. They just discussed them signs on the highway if you want to, them big digital signs if there's trouble at the plants or road conditions from the plants and stuff. But if you want, you can get the app for 511 Alberta and go on and check the road conditions, check the cameras. With an app, it just takes seconds to go on. I forget what that costs, but a pile of money in between the plants and everybody chipping in, municipalities. And yeah, last Friday, you guys all know what I was doing, so county business, but that's about it to report, so.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Reeve. As Aaron mentioned, we attended the AIHA meeting on December 2nd. Essentially, we were presented with a current financial statement, and I believe we're going to be in about a $45,000 deficit for this year. We were presented with a draft budget to approve for 2023, and I believe there is about a $250,000 surplus projected for that particular budget, so that was passed. Because of COVID being over, there's a lot more advocacy going to be happening with the Gulf Coast, Southeast Asia, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and those type of countries trying to promote the heartland. So that's all built in and factored into the budget. One of the things that they're planning on doing again is the Ottawa mission, which is tentatively scheduled for November 1st of next year again, and that'll be a 3-day mission to Ottawa. So fairly detailed, a lot of money spent on outreach and trying to promote the heartland in other areas. As far as our activities, calendar of events, pretty much the same as last year. You got your quarterly board meetings happening every third month starting December. So the next one will be in March here, June and September. The annual conference is scheduled for September again next year. And come September of next year, it'll be Lamont County's turn to assume the chair for the Alberta Industrial Heartland. So who's ever, I guess it's going to be myself will take over in September, and then it'll depend on what happens in October. If the position of reach changes or not, that position will come with the Reeve. Let me just check. As far as things happening in Heartland, Executive Director's report, much the same has been indicated in the last little while. Lots of activity, lots of interest. Just no real firm investment decisions at this point. We did have a update on the designated industrial zone. It has been designated as a designated industrial zone, but there's still lots of work that has to be done going forward here. And we did have a presentation by a stakeholder, but that presentation, the request has been made to keep it confidential, but a pretty interesting presentation. The other event I attended, and Councillor Anaka was there, and these events proved to have more information than some of our formal meetings, was the NCIA Wine and Cheese on Thursday night. Turnout was considerably lower than what it has been historically, but what it allowed for is it allowed for a lot more intermingling and mixing. And we had the pleasure of talking to a fellow from Dow, and they have a major facility plan to upgrade their existing plant in Fort Saskatchewan there. And he didn't hide any numbers from me, so but it is a significant expansion in the billions of dollars. And what the expansion there is supposed to do is make him net zero. We also talked to a fellow from Kiera Pipelines, and he kind of gave us a pretty good update on what their pipeline is that they're running now from, they call it the Josephburg plant, up to the Montney area and Fort St. John. And what they do is they bring natural gas liquids back and sell them and process them down here, though. So definitely, I thought it was a worthwhile night to attend there, and that part was good. And the only other update I want to give, because I see it's not part of the correspondence here, and I think I forwarded to you, but I will check, and if I didn't, we did get a response to our visit to the Minister of Transportation. And essentially all he really did was acknowledge that we were there. He acknowledged that we had some interesting prospects in the pipeline here, and that if we need to contact somebody, to contact a fellow from Red Deer, Mike.
Starts with a D. Yep.
Starts with the D. So yeah, that's kind of been where the last couple of weeks have been at.
And Mr. Reed, the other thing that letter indicated, and I apologize for not including it in the package, was their acknowledgement that they understood that we were looking for that to be in the short-term plan.
Yep. In the which?
In the transportation 5-year plan.
That's about the extent to my committee reports. Aaron, did I miss anything from the Heartland?
Nope. Nailed it.
Those are very concise and to the point meetings. They don't really mess around very much. So it's good.
You said there were a lot of them are kind of in camera because what they're dealing with. You're allowed to bring your alternate so you learn.
Yeah.
For later.
Yeah. There's closed sessions, and it's kind of a standing rule that I got myself into trouble at one time talking to let some information out of the bag, and I heard about it from the executive director. So yeah, what you hear there, a lot of it is proprietary, but I just found it very surprising how open this fellow from Dow was on Thursday night in regards to the information that he was laying out there. And what they're looking for is, he called it a preliminary investment decision. So it's not a final investment decision, but with a preliminary investment decision, it allows them to start doing the groundwork and pricing out stuff. And spending money before the final investment decision comes down the pipe, I guess, so. So with that, need a mover to accept committee reports as information. Neil?
Excuse me, Lamont County Council accept all committee reports as information.
Questions or concerns? All in favor?
Yep.
Carried. Okay, we'll move on to item number 10, correspondence. 10.1, Peter?
Mr. Reeve, there are two items. The first is on page 77. It's a letter from John Chomyak. He is a member of the Drahomanov Literary Society, writing a letter referencing their president, Jim Zook, about to the board members, and he wanted to offer his thoughts to council. My sense this has to do with a decision council took in, I think it might have been October, as far as your grants policy, where you indicated that council would no longer be providing an $8,000 amount to this organization. What he does is goes into some detail about how the evolution of the society and its recreation area, and how in essence that moved from being a funding amount that they got from the provincial government to Lamont County. The second item, and I've interpreted a little bit, I don't mind. Second item, there's actually two letters from the Lamont Fish and Game Association. The first one is that they're asking for a trophy sponsorship or a silent auction item to use at their January 28th, 2023 event. And the second one is an invitation to that same fundraising dinner and silent auction on January 28th, 2023. Tickets are $40. So, my suggestion is if there's anybody on council that wishes to attend that event, they ought to call Joan Day, the secretary, who's undersigned. And I'd look to council whether you're interested in providing a sponsorship. The amount is modest. This is a little different than what council has sponsored in the past, so I look to you for your direction.
Okay, so I guess let's deal with the correspondence from Mr. Homyak. Homyak. How does council wish to address this?
Well, I can speak to it a bit. They do have a very nice place, well kept. The government has been putting it into going down. They started off as you read the letters. Then it ended up in our hands at the end. And speaking to them the last week or so, I can foresee where it's going to be closed, and it will be just a ruin. Best they can get some financial help, maybe from the county. They're not asking for the $8,000 that we're getting, and it's mostly for maintenance of the place. I think, Mr. Reeve, you are well aware of the place you used the hall many times. Their card games that they have, they offer in the winter time. So I don't know, I just gonna plead for them for some kind of assistance.
Okay, so this is the Drohamanov Society, not the Moscow Hall, right?
The society, yes.
Okay. So, Rodney, do you recall? Because normally we send all the halls,
2000.
historically it's been 2000, right? So did we curtail these people completely? Or
No.
did we still send them to 2000?
They're still getting their recreation amount. And then, you know, we have the policy with the applications and so forth. But this is just that additional $8,000 that has not been provided.
So then just to clarify, did they receive $2,000?
As far as I know, yes, they did.
Could you just check into that?
Well, they would,
Make sure.
I'm sure that there was a check, they were on the list anyhow.
So it was for the 2,000 plus
For-
the 8,000. Okay.
Yes, okay. That's what it was. And then the society, what they're asking for is for a little bit of help for their park.
So, Mr. Reeve, one course of action may be to recommend that they make application to our grant program. I have to admit to you, I don't specifically remember the criteria. They may or may not. They may or may not. What's the word I'm looking for? Comply or qualify. Thank you.
But do we have a grant application? Never heard of that.
Yes, council approved it in, I think it would have been in the October timeframe with 2 intakes, one in the first half of the year and one in the second.
And I think when we approved that, there was a certain deadline that they had to apply by.
Yes.
There's the two intakes, and I don't remember what they're off the top, but yes.
So perhaps what we have to do is respond to this letter and advise them of the grant application process.
Yeah, absolutely, we can. We wanted to bring the letter forward to council because it was in regards to decision council had made, so.
Is it possible that you could give me the grant application and you can forward them a letter, but I will take it to them now?
We'll do both.
Okay, please. Thank you.
You did that to another group. Ago.
Okay, that's acceptable, Dan?
Yep.
Okay. So then we'll deal with item number 10.2 on the agenda, and maybe I'll let Councillor Wick speak to this because I understand that he's a member of the Lamont Fish and Game Association.
Yeah, well, we have to, January, we pay membership again, so we will be members again. We are plan on as a family booking and attending to go to the Fish and Game Supper as it is. So if you would like me to represent the county while we're there, I can do that. They're only asking for $50, which we normally give. I think it's $250, but we can. My recommendation is that we do sponsor one trophy.
Preferably your daughters.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, is this a pretty flush society?
No, you know what? I think it's been pretty quiet for the last couple of years just due to COVID. I think that's obviously it's affected everybody. So, but I haven't talked to Miss Day about it for a while or their previous predecessor Robin Butler. But I know that they're a fairly tight knit community, and this is an association that actually spends a lot of time with the youth in the area. It's not just about adults wanting to be part of this. They're very, very youth oriented. So I know our kids enjoyed it. Everything from building birdhouses to supporting the rodeo, to supporting other events, planting trees, everything they do in the community, so. We definitely support them as an individual family, so.
So is the meal wild game?
Majority of it is donated wild game, yep. Yeah. Well,
From what to what?
well,
skunk to-
they've eaten, yeah, porcupine, skunk, bear, beaver, rabbit. The thing that they gotta, we request they don't do is put the picture of the baby animals above the food anymore. They don't sell it, they don't get rid of it as much that way, but yeah. No, it's actually a very good meal, very, very good meal.
Should they cater the next county meeting?
Yeah.
With the leftovers?
The skunk
Yeah,
crap,
skunk.
skunk crap and get a couple magpies and skunk.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a very good, it's tended by a lot. There's usually, it's just about full capacity. There's up to 400 people.
So Mr. Reeve, administration can issue that check to them for the trophy and,
I guess my ask to council is, do you want to limit to a trophy or normally we donated what, 250 to these people?
well,
Not
I
to
don't know,
these people,
I don't know whether we've donated to these people. I
No,
don't
we
think
never
we've
did.
before.
And like I see for the town's fairs or whatever, eh?
Yeah.
The curling club.
They probably have as many members as the curling club, though. don't
Yeah,
they?
not
I don't know.
more.
Yeah.
I don't know too much.
Yeah.
I don't know too much, but they're into the kids and stuff. Pretty soon hunting's gonna be challenging. They'll have to use sticks, so
Okay, you want to do that?
guns will be gone.
Okay, wait,
I think we give them $100.
sure.
Okay. I'll make the motion, Mont County Council direct administration to send $100 to the Lamont Fish and Game Association.
Questions or concerns? Debate? Seeing none, those in favor?
Yeah.
It's carried 5-0. Okay, I think we are moving on to item number 11, closed session.
So Mr. Reeve, I don't think that we responded to the first item from the Romanov Society, so
Right, you're right.
that staff respond to the Drahomanov Society, highlighting the grants policy and intake dates. Would that work for you?
Something similar along those lines. On council direct administration.
To respond to the Drahomanov Society?
Advising them of our new grant policy.
Okay,
And just for information, I did look it up here. It looks like they have not got their check yet, so we'll just make sure that gets completed before the end of the year for their $2,000.
Have the other ones received it?
I have to look that up. I'm gonna have the staff,
Great, you look into
yeah,
that.
look into that first.
set an appointment with their banker.
Okay, I'll make this motion. The Lamont County Council Direct Administration. To respond to the Moscow Hall Society. Advising of the grant application policy and application deadlines.
I think that's good.
Yep.
Grant. Yeah, there it was.
Okay. Any questions or concerns?
Hmm.
All those in favor? No?
In favor, yeah.
Carried 5-0. And Rodney, you'll look into whether they receive this year's or not. That could go a long way too. Okay, good. Okay, item number 11, closed session. Okay, we're now back at the regular council meeting out of camera. So one motion coming out of the closed session. And that's to accept the legal matter as information. So if you can get that on the board there, Kim.
Add the word briefing, Mr. Reed, legal matter briefing.
Or legal briefing.
We did, and I gave it to.
Councillor Royal made that motion. You remember what time?
Yeah, 10
Or 34.
or 34.
Legal matter briefing as information.
Okay, somebody want to make that motion? Aaron?
Make a motion on the Lamont County Council to accept legal matter briefing.
Questions or concerns? All those in favor? It's carried 5-0. And with that,
And there.
I think we are ready for adjournment at 4:37.